All right, everybody. It is that time. Welcome into the Shot Quality Bets podcast. I am Justin Perri, your host, here with my co-host, Big 3 for 3. And today we're going to be breaking down a little bit about what's coming up in the next couple of days. I call this the Christmas Eve episode, Big 3. We are finally here in less than 24 hours from our recording time. We will have first round games. So I'm really excited about that. Hope you are too. I hopefully you can't hear the construction going on to the side. I got my good microphone all hooked up, so there's no problems, no New York City interruptions today. But how you doing, man? How you getting ready for the tournament yourself? I think you're flying out, right?
Yeah. I'm going to first and second round games Friday and Sunday, so pretty excited about that for sure. Last night, two pretty fun games to start off the tournament. Honestly, I didn't watch the NIT, but I did watch the two play-in games, and even the 16 game was pretty fun. A little bit of a comeback and then sweaty push. I had -4 on Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Took it early and got pushed, but pushed there, and then Mississippi State missed a couple shots down the stretch. But yeah, some really fun games to start the tournament for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was really exciting to see. We actually had a great night. The shot quality model is cooking. I mean, we were sitting at like 116 units coming into March. We are halfway through March and already above 143, pushing strong to try to end the season up over 30 units in March would be awesome. But yeah, 27 units already won in 14 days in this great month. So the Shot Quality Bets users are thrilled. We're happy. Our sheets turn up green more often than they turn red, about 56.5% right now, which is money. In March. That's the March percentage. I think we're close to around 54 for the season. It was a really interesting totals run with overs hitting like nothing else, but it seems to have calmed down, Big 3. What do you make of the totals landscape when you're trying to bet on tournament games?
Yeah, I think it's funny because, like you mentioned, we were only showing value on unders for like a month. And even here, I mean, last night we had 2 overs, I guess. So it's not super skewed, but 2 overs, 6 unders. I think this is a pretty good balance. I do think that these games are going to tend to go under. There's a lot of public action coming in on tournament games. Public loves to bet overs, neutral sites playing for a lot down the stretch. I do think that unders are, if you had to blindly pick a side, if you needed to, I would lean under in general. And I think the shot quality bets model is going to continue to show value and shade to the under. But I think too, just like looking at what we have, I don't know, over the first couple days of the tournament, it's a pretty decent mix. There's not, honestly, it's almost 50-50. Maybe, no, it's probably like 60-40 to the under. So I would say that's kind of where I want my action anyways, is a little shaded to the under. So pretty happy about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's the move. And if you're rocking with us, looking for some plays for tonight, the 15th at the recording time, we do have a couple really nice plays here tonight. We like this Arizona State versus Nevada game to go over the number of 135. We make it 142.5. I like that one. I think there definitely could be some points. This one might end up in a tie, honestly. I'm really excited for that game. We can break it down a little bit. I think we're going to focus a little bit more on the first round because this is likely coming out later tonight on our podcasting locations, which is Apple and on Spotify. So always be on the lookout for that. And of course, Shot Quality Bets Wire is a great place to go to get some information. If you're ever looking for content, just go shotqualitybets.com/blog. We actually just posted this really awesome most iconic buzzer beaters video. I think, Big 3, I'm going to give the people a quick taste of this, and then we can Oh.
You cut out for a second, but we're here. We're good.
Well, anyway, quick sample of what you could see over there. I think I'm running way too much on my computer today, man. Like it's March Madness for my MacBook. So let me try to reopen that screen really quick. and we'll get rolling. But let's talk about some of the games on Friday, or actually let's go with Thursday first, that you are looking at to bet. I have Thursday as a little bit of a smaller card for me. I kind of like the games a little bit more on Friday, but I wanted to talk about Thursday because we'll probably get on the horn again and maybe talk about our Friday, Saturday games as well. So what are you thinking for Thursday right now?
Yeah, are we just going through like plays and stuff? Is that what you're talking about?
We'll just talk about some of the Thursday games, talk about plays. We don't really have like a preview or anything today. If you want to see our preview, we actually just did a full Western region preview, which was voted on by people on Twitter as the region they wanted to hear most about. It's really stacked, a lot of great teams. So go check that out. It's in the feed wherever you're watching or listening to this. You can find that. It's on our YouTube, on Spotify and Apple as well. So yeah, just for today though, Big Three, let's just go with some of the games that you like for Thursday's action.
Yeah, I like it. Up in the South on like the top left, so this is like very top left of your bracket, is some of my favorite plays. So like San Diego State Charleston is one that I really like, and the ShotQuality Bets model recommended for a while. I don't know if it's still recommending it at the current number. I think we have it at -9.5 or -9.9. Yeah, so it's still a play because it's sitting at -5 right now. So yeah, this is one that I really like. San Diego State is a very, very good team. And I think like we saw them lose a little more than maybe people expected in the Mountain West this year. I think they had 3 losses ish, but a pretty stacked Mountain West that we saw send 3 other teams to the tournament, beating Utah State 3 times now. And, like they played St. Mary's earlier this year, lost by 7, ShotQuality win by 6, I think it was, or something like that. Also lost to Arizona earlier this year, ShotQuality win. So this is a really good team, and it's a team that ShotQuality has to have performed even better than we've seen so far. I think, honestly, Charleston is a team that kind of became this like media Cinderella darling early on in the season. And there was a point in time where they were ranked 25th in the country, and every analytics site, including us, had them 80th. It was just like the narrative around this could possibly be an at-large team was just absolutely insane. And there's no way this team is better than, any of the other teams on the bubble or anywhere near it. So I really do think that this was kind of blown out of proportion. If you look at Charleston's schedule, it's awful. They have a decent win against Virginia Tech and Kent State, I guess. But the Virginia Tech one was projected by ShotQuality to be a 10-point loss. The Kent State win is fine. But other than that, they've beat absolutely no one, right? And you lose to Hofstra and Drexel back-to-back games. It's just like this team, it's awesome that they're a 30-win team. Like, I agree. Obviously, they won their conference, so that's how they get into the tournament. But this is another tier, and I really do think that San Diego State wins this game by double digits. And the ShotQuality model agrees. And like I said, I think a lot of it is people are convinced that this Charleston team is borderline top 25 team because they were ranked that way earlier this year. But this is probably, ShotQuality has them at 90 right now. Like, this is not a team that should be able to compete with the San Diego State.
Yep, I fully agree. And, I was sitting here a little worried about what's going on, but I think a lot of people are actually on the site today checking out some of the things we have. So I think it's running a little slow, which I'm not. It's like a champagne problem for us here at ShotQuality Bets. So we are definitely really excited about some of the tools that we have brought out. I'm just going to give them a little plug really quick. We have made some of these really great custom tools that anybody can check out. I actually was streaming late last night, Big Three. I jumped on the cam here for about like 10 minutes and just went through this tool, what it actually can do and why you want to use it. So in like 3 seconds, it's just custom sliders, change bracket immediately, download what you want, right? Like it's really cool. If you want to see how the best 3-point points per possession team would do, you just throw that up and all of a sudden A&M Corpus Christi is your champion, because apparently when they take threes, they hit threes, or they're expected to take good threes, which is just pretty interesting. But like, if you just want the team that's going to chuck it up the most, look, Alabama's going to beat Penn State in a final. And your Final Four is going to include Connecticut and Oral Roberts. So a lot of fun things you can do with this tool, and a good one to check out. It's totally free. Head to shotqualitybets.com/March Madness to check it out. And if you want to subscribe for all of our picks, you can use code DOMINATE2023, all cap, to get half off. Actually, we are offering everything at I think $40 for the month. Is that our normal discount is usually $50. So we are making it as attractive as possible over here. Let's go into another game for Thursday though. Hit value, find it up. I do agree that Charleston's getting too much love. They have been.
Yep.
Just the strength of schedule is pretty rough. Seeing it, I mean, they got a little bit too much respect, I think, with the seeding already. I mean, we're giving Colgate and we're giving Vermont 15s, but we're giving Charleston a 12.
Yeah.
And I just what do you think Colgate's record would be if they played this schedule? It would probably be better. But Vermont too. It's pretty much a cakewalk. So I'm definitely on San Diego State. I know our value bracket has it as a good place to go get it because the percentages of people who trust Charleston to win in this scenario are very high. I've been hearing it everywhere, and I just think given the quality of the teams, you're going to even look. It can. What I'm not saying here, I think we always need to preface everything. When I say something's a good bet or a good pick, we're saying we're past 55% in terms of how we feel, right? So there's still a pretty real chance that this doesn't go right. The game that we play here every day is being more correct than we are wrong at a very specific rate, right? Over that 52.4%, and it's fine. It's winning. And that's what a lot of people just want to do, is what we want to do. So, yeah, I do think really good shot that San Diego State gets it done above expectation.
The other thing.
Yeah, please go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say just on top of that, because you made a really good point. And I think the point here is, especially when you're filling out a bracket, right? There's two components here. There's betting and then there's the bracket. The value bracket tool that we have is so cool. And I think the thing that people don't really understand about it is that it's not meant to be the perfect bracket. It's meant to be extracting value in places that everyone else who's filling out their bracket is not, right? And so I think you look at ESPN, and ESPN is nice enough to give you the percentages of who picked who, right? And I think one of the craziest ones that I saw there was that number 5 seed San Diego State is being picked in 68% of brackets. Number 8 seed Memphis is being picked in 67% of brackets. And I think the biggest thing here is, look at the lines, right? You have San Diego State, we project them at -10. They're actually -5. And Memphis is -1.5, right? But they're being picked the same amount of times. And I think that's something where it's okay, you don't even have to know anything about the team, anything about the matchup. If you have a model that you trust, like the ShotQuality bets model, or if you have, I don't know, you just use betting lines in general or 10 pound, whatever it is. But you can extract value and say, hey, this team's supposed to win at a much higher rate than people are giving them credit for. I'm going to get value on the rest of the field by picking them, and I think that's the thing where it's we have Alabama losing early on. You want to know why? Because everyone has Alabama winning. And it's the first chance that
88%.
88% into the Sweet 16, 75 into the Elite 8, and over 50% of brackets have Alabama in the Final Four. So it's sure, you can think Alabama's making the Final Four, but you're not going to gain anything on the field, right? So it's if we have a chance to beat Alabama in the second round,
lazy.
You're going to
so lazy. Yeah.
Exactly. So I really think that's what people need to understand with the value bracket, and as they're filling out their bracket, as we kind of talk about some of these things, is okay, if you're actually in a bracket pool trying to make money on these types of things, you can't do what everyone else is doing. You have to do different things, and you're not always going to get rewarded for it. And I think the other biggest thing is everyone picks upsets first round. You could just go through the first round and pick no upsets and worry about your Elite 8, Final Four, those types of things.
It's usually 5 upsets, right?
4 or 5 or 6
in the first round is usually what we expect. I think people are saying, given how the tournament is shaping up, we're looking maybe at a year with 6. But yeah, you want to if you want to be bold, 7. If you're going past 7 or 8 upsets in the first 32 games, that's pretty crazy. The better teams should win, especially because, Alabama, Kansas, Houston, and Purdue, UCLA, Arizona, Texas, they should all carry their first round matchups like that. Immediately you're dropping off 8 of the 32. So now you're talking about taking 8 of the other 24 games to be an upset, unless you're going for something crazy. But, the thing is you got to remember how this is going to go, right? If, let's say, something, I don't know, ungodly happens, right? And a 2 loses or even a 1 loses, what are you? Do you think that team's going to like make a run? And no, they're probably going to get bounced the next round. So like, yeah, you have like, if you take Texas Southern to make the Elite Eight and that happens, you're going to have like a lot of points. But I don't know. I think you probably want to like take, not that worst team, but also like not the one. It's just there's no value on the very, very outsides of a bracket. It's usually the teams in the middle, and you want to try to call the teams from like a 13 to a 5 between that, right? So they're going to make runs because everybody else is so chalky with the outside stuff.
Exactly. You can look at this page and be like, Miami is being picked in 70% of brackets. The money line says they win 55% of the time. Like, okay, Drake's probably a good look, right? I think we have Drake in ours. I'm pretty sure, Justin. But then, like another example on the other side, which I think we also have picked in ours, is Montana State. Kansas State's being picked in 90% of brackets right now. The money line on Montana State's only like plus 330. Like that's indicating, I don't know, 20% win share, something like that after you take out the VIG. And it's like they're only being picked in 10% of brackets. Like this is how you're extracting value. Is it's like, okay, every single time you might be a fool and you might pick a stupid upset like Montana State or Maryland over Alabama that doesn't win. But it's like ultimately you're doing the most EV thing over time, right? And I think like that's the thing that like people have a hard time understanding is I'm sure if Maryland loses first round, which is a possibility, or if they lose to Alabama, it's going to be like, oh, the shot quality value model was so dumb, right? But it's like I don't think that they really understand like the difference here. So I just wanted to point that out a little bit.
Yeah, and you also have to understand what we use at ShotQuality, right? Like we're not trying to sit here and say it's some voodoo magic. What we do is we evaluate how valuable a shot is, right? We don't care if it goes in or not. We don't care about results. It's about process. So we identify the teams that have the best process in creating shots, and we use, various analytic methods to try to understand how they will match up to predict scores. And not only predict scores, but predict shot value scores, right? So there is really good, I guess, a good, strong relationship between shot quality scores and actual scores. We do see them line up plenty. There's a lot on our website. There's a stats explain page. If you go to either shot quality or shot quality bets, you can read a little bit more about it and see some of the testing that's been done to figure this all out. But we do essentially look for the teams that create the best shots, absent of if they go in. We do, of course, know the team's abilities to make those shots. That's what we use on the player-by-player analytics to understand if they should make them. But yeah, we have a lot of different algorithms rating players, changing how good they are mid-season. It's obviously pretty complex. We could go into it for a while, but we're probably only going to be here for about another 15 to 20 minutes. So let's keep talking about the bracket. But that's just a little bit, it's still important to understand if you're going to use some of our data, if you want to talk about what shot quality is really doing, it's good to really get an understanding. And we expect to be more and more talked about. So excited to share what it's all about. But what jumps out at you here? I mean, I know, we posted about the shot quality value bracket. Anybody here can go check it out. You just go shotqualitybets.com/value-bracket, or just go to the March Madness page. It's all on our Twitter. It's everywhere. Pretty easy to get to. But, it's looking at a final between Tennessee and Houston, which is, going to get a little bit of backlash. But Tennessee making the final game at 5% apparently rates a lot lower than what shot quality sees. This is still a pretty good team, but people have concerns about the injury. If you've bet a lot of college basketball, what you end up coming away with is that one player often doesn't change nearly as much as people make it out to be. I don't know if Zakai is going to end up being a player that could be worth multiple points, but that's about where it stops, right? Like how many players are really worth 5 points a game? Like maybe Zach Edey, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing with Tennessee, they've lost 7 of their last 12, I think it is, but 3 of those losses have been shot quality expected wins. And so I think this is still, despite the 10 losses on the season, this is still the 8th best team by shot quality. And I think ultimately, we've talked about this before, but shot quality is player dependent. Like shot quality knows in these like post-game assessment, the post-game scores, if Ziegler didn't play or not, right? And that's the thing that I think people don't get is like we have an understanding and our numbers have an understanding of who's in and who's out, right? And it still likes Tennessee. And the reason here is pretty simple, and it's that the market is way, way, way too high on Duke. In the market, I think we've talked about it before. It's just like Marquette, Purdue, some of these other teams. Like I think that they're just falling in love with these teams, forgetting about the fact that Tennessee is a legit top 10 team. And I think that that's kind of ultimately where this value is coming from, right? Is like if you actually think this is a legit, eighth top 10 team in the country, and we have Duke at like 20 something, right? And so it's a spot we've talked about. Duke's being picked. I need to pull it up here.
I got it.
More to make it to the Sweet 16 than Tennessee, and Duke has a worse chance to even make it in the first round. They're -6, Tennessee's -12, and Tennessee will absolutely be favored in that game. There's no doubt. And so it's like, okay, how does that make sense that 5% more people have Duke there? Like just because they're playing well and Ziegler's out, right? Like I think that
I don't think the public knows even that deep, dude. I think that most of the people who come into this, like how big is the college basketball betting community? Even if it's like a lot of people actually bet on it, like the active amount of like the sharps who think this way, or even the advanced users who think this way, like you're talking tens of thousands versus the millions who are going to fill out a bracket on ESPN. Like, I just think that like, you're just getting the Duke effect for sure. Yep. People just know Duke. They know they're a good team. They probably know they won the ACC. Duke's back. I don't know. I mean, look, I think John Shire has done a great job. I think this is going to be a great game. But all eyes are going to be on that game because people will be knocking on my proverbial door being like, hey, ShotQuality, you idiots. So, look, we just think that Tennessee is not getting the appreciation in the market given that they are the better team in that game. And, again, people are going to be like, why are you saying that? But, like, the market's going to say it too. So I would imagine even with the Duke tax, that game probably is a pick 'em, right?
Yeah, I think it opens up Tennessee probably minus a couple, maybe -1 only. But yeah, probably gets bought to a pick 'em. I don't think it closes as Duke is more than like a 1-point favorite. The other thing I want to say here is you're right. ShotQuality is going to get that. You guys are so dumb. That was such a terrible pick. How is Tennessee in the championship game? Our prediction for this game is Tennessee to win by 2.2 points. That's the prediction, right? So even on a pick 'em, we're not even suggesting a bet on this game. Like this is the value in the bracket compared to what other people are picking is showing Tennessee. I went to the matchup breakdown and pulled it up, Justin, if you're trying to look for it.
Yeah, something else really fast. But yeah.
No, you're good. So yeah, I mean, we have Tennessee winning the game by 2. And like ultimately in a bracket, yeah, you're going to pick Tennessee, but that's not even what these are. Like I'm sure some of the games that we picked, we don't actually have the team winning, right? It's just the percent chance that they win we have higher than, what market's showing them. Like, a good example is the Alabama-Maryland game. We have Alabama beating Maryland by 7. So it's not like we like, oh, ShotQuality says Maryland's going to beat Alabama straight up. Like that was such an awful pick. Like, no, we have Alabama winning the game by 7, but winning the game by 7 correlates with a certain win percentage. That
usually around 66 to 70, I feel like.
Yeah, and we think that is way off of where, they've been picked, which we saw. They're getting picked 86% of brackets. So it's like, that's the value pick there, right? And so I don't know. And the other thing too is I feel like people get really attached to these teams. Like even like a Kentucky's a good example last year. Auburn was kind of like the Cinderella or not Cinderella, but like a team people were super high on last year. Like it's one thing to really, really love Alabama right now. It does not always seem to be the case that team is in the Final Four, right? Like I really do think a team like this, if you're going to win your bracket pool, it's not by picking Alabama to the Final Four. Like that's not going to gain you anything on the fields. It's like if you're going to win your bracket pool, you're going to do it by figuring out a different team in that region that's going to knock them off. Like,
I mean, the obvious response to that is, well, what happens if Alabama does it? And it's like, okay, yeah, but then like you're probably competing for a champion, right? If chalk just makes it, yes. Do you want to have chalk? Sure, but the idea is that like obviously having the right picks is how you win, But we don't know the right picks. We don't know where the craziness is going to happen. But you need to then employ game theory to give yourself the best odds of creating winning scenarios. That's what we're doing. If you want to play, I just want to try to get it right. This is not, you're not talking about a value bracket anymore. You don't care. Yep. You don't care about the value. Just pick what you want, right? We're not saying one team's going to win or not. We're saying these are the right plays to put yourself in the best position to have a lead or a good position in the standings of your bracket based on the actual expected win percentages of these teams matching up against each other, rather than what, you know, everyone else is picking because they're casuals.
Yeah. I think the other thing here too is like looking at the other part of the value bracket down in the bottom right, we have another 8/1, right? And actually I think we have 3 8-9s beating 1 seeds. And the reason is that we're saying they're being overpicked. Our other 1 seed, we have winning the whole thing in Houston. But you like Kansas is only going to be -4 maybe against like in Illinois or Arkansas, maybe -5. And they're getting picked way too much, right? And I think that like ultimately you're kind of taking a stance with some of these. And does that mean you have to pick 3 8-9s over 1? No. But I think taking 2 of them is probably a pretty good route, right? And then you get like a 4 or 5 into the Elite Eight, something like that. So I don't know. I really like the value bracket. Like I really like where things sit, and I know there's no way it's going to be perfect. I think everyone should know that there will be things wrong, there will be mistakes, but I really like what it shows. And at the very least, what it should show you is, hey, the value on these teams, the ShotQuality's value is way higher on Tennessee than the market, right? Maybe that doesn't mean you pick them to the national championship game, but maybe you pick them over Duke. Same with Kentucky, right? Like, okay, maybe I pick Kentucky to the Elite Eight. You know, I think like that's kind of the way you can use this, is like, you don't necessarily have to treat it as truth, but it's like, hey, man, maybe I should have Xavier over Texas. Like, I think the market's probably not valuing Xavier enough.
Exactly. What it's really doing at the end of the day is taking data like this that is all available based on what people are picking, and really hasn't changed very much. You're not going to get much of a difference at this point now, with only like 22 hours until games tip off. So, you know, it's just the fact that, like, if we look at Marquette getting out of the first round at 92% right now. All right. Like, if we look at this Marquette game and they're playing Vermont on a neutral floor. My Wi-Fi is being a little slow today. Sorry if the video is choppy, everyone. I don't know why. But 6.5 points. Right. And again, that correlates a little bit closer to like a 70-75% chance rather than a 90%, 85% chance that you're seeing on ESPN. 92. They're saying is an 8% chance Vermont wins, most people. Like, it's not like it's worth that many points. And if you really think Marquette's primed for a big run, I understand not taking that advice. But the fact of the matter is, it is not a 92% chance that Marquette wins. That's what a value bracket is. So there are going to be spots where, you know, it does make sense for us to keep the number 1 winning. I mean, you know, we do probably have a pretty dominant expectation for Alabama. And if you're looking for those percents directly instead of calculating them yourself from ShotQuality data, if you're a premium member, you can just go to the team pages. They will be there. So we have the expected percent for each game. So we have Vermont winning in 28% of simulations right now on this expected score. So it's, and this is incorrect. This should say neutral, but it will eventually switch when the game gets logged. But it just doesn't think it's at home. So that's a pain in the ass. But anyway, Vermont 28 versus, you know, 8. So we're already seeing basically 20% value in terms of what people are picking. So that's kind of how it's done. Again, anyone can go check this out. I love this thing. I think it's really sharp. You know, I really think it's sharp because people are like, this is not right.
I know, the more people dislike it, the more it makes me like it.
Right. Oh, you have Maryland beating Alabama. It's like, oh, everyone thinks it's such a foregone conclusion that Alabama can't lose here. Like, that is exactly when you want to be against them, because markets sort of are like precipitory of thoughts, right? And so like when everyone thinks Alabama's going to win, they bet Alabama, they take Alabama in brackets, and that opens up obvious percentage points on going against them. And that's kind of what you want to do gambling as well. That's a really good gambling strategy. And you try to set lines versus expectations and then see what essentially books offer you instead of sort of trying to say, oh, here's the line. Let me see. Like I know my gambling perspective changed a lot when I stopped looking at lines until after my calculations were done. Like I don't even let that color my assumptions. It's part of the psyop, guys. Like they want you to know, oh, like they're favored, but should they be in like by 6? Like, no, just go look at the game, figure out what you think the score is, and then go see what they're offering and remove the bias of knowing what you're competing against. Just prepare properly is how I would say that. But anyway, we said we want to do a little more Thursday Big Three. Let's pull up the value finder here. What do you make of some of the games? Anything else that's standing out for you? I can tell you what my picks for Thursday are really quick.
Let's hear a couple of yours.
Let's see what you think from my Thursday action. So I'm gonna lay the points with Tennessee. We talked about Tennessee a lot, but like what I'm gonna do, sit here and not take the shot quality recommendation on that. We have 17 points here. It's already at 11.5. I played 10.5, so a nice little point in my favor. I'm gonna lay it with Arizona as well. We already talked about San Diego State. I got 4.5 there, which is a nice line. And then I do have a dog. I'm not going full here. I'm going to take Penn State plus the 3 against Texas A&M, but I don't feel good about it. So I don't know. What do you make of like that Arizona play, and what do you make of the Penn State play?
Yeah, I like the Arizona one too. The thing that scares me, we've talked about Arizona the whole year, is their ability to close out games. I do. Obviously, the shot quality bets model leans that way too. I don't know if you got the 14.5.
No, I think we did send out 13 to clients, so I think
that's what I thought. Is that it was lower. Yeah, so I like that a lot at 13.5. Little less at 14.5, but think that's a good play. I'm not gonna lie, the 7-10 games are really, really screwing with me right now. I think the one that I like. I got Missouri at a pretty good number. I think +2, maybe it was 1.5, which might be what it's
Michigan State.
So yeah, Missouri is playing Utah State. Sorry, but other than that, I'm talking about like Penn State, Texas A&M. Like those two teams, I think you have to look at like how these teams are priced too, and a lot of how they're priced has to do with like recency bias. And both Texas A&M and Penn State played in their conference tournament championships. I think both on Sunday, like on Selection Sunday, right? And I think like these were two teams. It's funny they got matched up against each other because these are two teams that probably everyone wanted to take, right? Like it's like, oh man, this Penn State team's pretty good. They almost beat number 1 seed Purdue. And same with like Texas A&M, obviously not as close to Alabama, but having made it that far, having won the game.
Wait, yeah, like so funny because we know the commissioner said of the committee said that they had only a few contingency brackets and they were based around these late finals, right? And so that means the contingency bracket that with both these teams losing meant that they would face up, and the committee knew that was coming and probably kind of like was like he. So I love it. I mean, you know what? You both lost out of a conference that was probably underperformed a little. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see, but that's pretty interesting. What do you think on this play? And then we got to get out of here.
Yeah, I like Penn State. Penn State is a good shot quality team for sure. I think like ultimately they're 72nd in adjusted shot quality to Texas A&M's 20th. So it's like, how is this a 1-point game? Penn State basically lives at the 3-point line. You see some things that our betting model likes, like the spacing, shot making, like those types of things. And both these teams are pretty competitive offensively and defensively, not like any like glaring obvious, like, I don't know, obvious deficiencies on either side of the ball. But I think like I definitely lean Penn State, but honestly, I can't decide. And I think we talked about it before the conference tournament. Penn State relies on a couple just really good shot makers, right? And I think that that's something that, makes me a little nervous in betting a team in March. It's like, yeah, do I want the ball in Pickett's hand at the end of the game for my cover? Yes. Yep. But also, do I want him to have to make a really tough shot to cover? Not as much. So this is probably a game I'll lay off of, but I do agree with the Penn State side for sure.
All right. Well, there you have it. Penn State side for me. Little Tennessee lay, little Arizona lay, San Diego State lay, getting the point on all three. Kind of nice, feeling kind of good about that. Really, kind of the name of the game in March is trying to get the right line because, at the end of the day, these games are going to be crazy. They are going to be like one team could be hot, one team could be cold. The craziest thing ever could happen. You just want to get yourself in a good position. Beating lines is the best way to give yourself an edge long term. So very happy about those favorites getting a little bit heavier. But again, never the end all be all, but that is going to be the end of the show today. I want to thank Big Three for tuning in with us today before he goes and jets off to catch some first round action. So definitely make sure you're following him on Twitter at Big3for3. I'm sure he'll be giving picks and game side analysis, hopefully. But we will, I just hope you have fun. We will see everybody next time. We'll be back. I'll definitely be here over the weekend doing some stuff. Make sure you check out the ShotQuality March Madness tool, shotqualitybets.com/March Madness. You can use code DOMINATE2023 for half off any subscription today. Definitely go check it out. It's our best offer ever. We want to make sure everybody's getting into ShotQuality, and then the bracket builder is totally free. So go play around. Let us know what you think. Tag us on Twitter if you make a bracket using it. And we will see you next time on the ShotQuality Bets podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in.